As I speak, I am scrolling down the social media timeline of Vinesh Phogat. It in parts at the beginning of the year looks like the one for any other athlete. There are training videos and motivational quotes. Then you scroll down and you find pictures and quotes and articles that are a throwback to the days of protests which she led against former Wrestling Federation of India President Brij and Sharan Singh. Then there is the heartbreaking post about what happened to her at the Paris Olympics. And of late, it's about a politician on a campaign trail. Welcome to Express Sports Podcast. You're listening to Game Time with me, Mihir Vasavda. And this week, we'll be talking about Vinesh Phogat's transformation from a wrestler to a rebel with a huge cause, leading the protests against Brij Bhushan, to an unfortunate face of India's biggest and the saddest day of the Olympics, and now a full-fledged politician. We are joined by Vinayakk Mohanarangan as always, and this week we are also joined by Nihal Koshie, who spent a day with Vinesh while she was campaigning through the villages of Haryana for the upcoming assembly elections. Nihal, we'll start with you. We've seen Vinesh the wrestler. You've seen Vinesh the protester. How was it covering Vinesh the politician?
I think she seemed like a seasoned politician. So quite a surprise, but also not a surprise looking at the way she led the protests. Because I'm sure the fact that she led the protests for 2 months and after the protests were called off, they were forced to call off the protests also, there was this battle. So she had to deal with so many people on her side, people against her, ministers, government officials. So I think that has helped. And her speeches are appealing to her vote bank, which I would say is largely the women and young girls who look up to her. She's campaigning, talking about give vote for your Beti and Bahu. And also for someone who fought for your rights, who fought for women's rights, to ensure that sport and in general sport is safe for women. And that is surely striking a chord because there is a good turnout of women. And you can see that real love for her. It could be also because there are many factors. One, her husband Somveer, who's a Greco-Roman wrestler who stood by her. Julana is his hometown. Then there's the fact that she's just come back from the Paris Olympics where there was that heartbreaking disqualification. So the general sentiment is that she deserved the medal and she's a winner, but there was a conspiracy which led to her not winning the medal. So she's greeted with that like a champion. And then also the third fact that she's a woman who's like from Haryana. There are a lot of women wrestlers who come out of Haryana, that is there, but just to reach the height she's reached. So even young girls, like there was one girl who came and told her like, Didi, aapki jeet pakki hai, guarantee hai. She took an autograph, just one person. There are old women coming out, women just standing and waving to her. You can see the joy. And of course, that is her vote base, I think, which should work for her. And she's easily switched from, tracksuit to suits is like salwar kameez. It's called suit. So that she's easily switched. And one interesting thing she said was like, so when we asked her that what made you switch to politics, like she gave an interesting story saying that during the qualification period, she suddenly started, she likes to shop, like she likes to buy shoes, cream, all that. So she started buying suits. It was an obsession for about a month and a half. She bought about 80 suits, but now she knows why. She says it's just destiny because she wears suits for campaigning.
Well, we'll come to her decision to join politics in a bit. But Vinayakk, one thing that Nihal mentioned, and it keeps coming up again and again, is how the people there are kind of also still believing that it's a conspiracy. First of all, what happened in Paris, for those living, I don't know, under which big rock, if you're not aware of what happened to her in Paris, is that she reached the final of the 50 kg women's freestyle, and on the morning of the final, she couldn't make the weight and was disqualified and returned home without a medal. All her results were disqualified. Ravi, I think it's high time, at least for even in terms of political rhetoric, that people move on from the whole conspiracy theories.
Yeah, the conspiracy of she getting disqualified was just a rule. I don't think the rule was a conspiracy to disqualify Vinesh. It's the other way around. She got disqualified because of the rule. So, that bit, I think, it's about time we move on from that. I wanted to ask you, Mihir, take us back to that day in Paris a little bit. And the whole mood of the Olympics campaign changed, right? The moment, you broke the news and then the entire day felt like a bit of a daze, if I'm honest. Just take us back to that day and specifically what she's been saying about not getting the support from IOA. What do you make of that bit?
Yeah, I think that was an interesting point. We can debate the facts of it. In the interview to Nihal, she's mentioned about how she didn't get any support from the IO. And the photo that was tweeted out by the Indian Olympic Association handle was without her consent and was merely a photo up by PT Usha. I mean, of course, those are all points that she is making. That day, of course, it was gut-wrenching for everyone who was related directly or indirectly to Team India, right? So it was the biggest downer. We've spoken about this in the earlier episodes. What stands out from then and now, I think, is for so many days after that disqualification happened, Vinesh was just secluded. She was just by herself, not talking to anyone, barely sleeping. I mean, it was ticking all boxes, all the symptoms that are usually associated with depression. We could spot those in the way people around her described her condition. And from there, the way Nihal is describing the mood in a village right now, and the way she's campaigning, I see a 360-degree transformation from not talking to anyone and not wanting to be around anyone. One of the reasons I think she also delayed her return from Paris. She came almost a week after the games got over. Not her event, the games overall, the closing ceremony. One of the reasons was that she just wanted to stay away from the crowd and the sympathy that she was expecting and everything. From there to be in middle of people 24/7, that is a big transformation. And I mean, with the photos and videos that we see, she looks at ease with it. It comes very naturally to her. But Nihal, you spent an entire day with her. You spoke to her. Are there any traces of that disappointment still in her, or she's moved on from that?
Okay, before getting into that answer, just something I should mention very interesting is that because we are talking about weight and how she was 100 grams overweight, what happened at a couple of villages is as they wait for Vinesh, the weighing scale comes out. Okay. And then what they do is that when Vinesh comes, she's first pagadis are put on her, flowers are showered on her, and then she's made to stand on the weighing scale. And then whatever her weight is, 5 kilos more of laddus is put. Like suppose her weight was 55, so then 60 kilos of laddus is put and it's distributed. So basically, what the one Sarpanch told us there is that we are not like people in Paris. Your weight doesn't matter. We told her you come with whatever weight you want, no problem. We bought 5-10 kilo laddus extra.
Weigh scale can be her political party symbol if she ever goes independent in the future.
And what was your question? Sorry, I forgot.
I asked her if you sensed any traces of disappointment still in her, or has she moved on from whatever happened there?
I think there is a lot of disappointment still now. Yes, of course, she is in the middle of a campaign trail. So, and that in a way that has kept her busy, of course. But yes, that is it's something she cannot forget. Like she said, no, like the thing for her is that she doesn't know if she was good enough for gold, Like she's compared it to Rio, where she got injured. And then she's saying that in Rio also, I didn't know if I was good enough to beat that wrestler or not. And here also now she says that I don't know if could I have won gold or was I good only enough for silver. So she basically said I can't accept it as a loss, nor can I accept it as a win. Because she doesn't know if she reached her full potential. So yes, that disappointment will be there. And like she said, of course, she spoke about that. Like when she was 100 grams over the weight limit, she just went blank. She started begging and pleading. Like she used her hands to show us. She was sitting in the car in the front seat and we were at the back, me and Sandeep Dwivedi, our national sports editors. Like she turned around and of course she was turning around to talk to us, but she showed us how she was pleading with folded hands. She said, told them check again. And then there was this Hungarian girl who was a friend. I don't know if she was a wrestler or a former wrestler or official, but she said she's a friend. And that girl also had tears in her eyes. She hugged her and then she just felt that my body was lifeless. So I think that trauma will be there. And she also, now whether UWW looks at this case and says there needs to be allowance or if her argument is right or wrong, but she mentioned that for women, because of the structure of the body, the biology and everything, that she says that women tend to retain a little more water than men. So if there is a weighing on the second day, she first of all said on the second day there should be no weighing. But of course she's coming from a place of disappointment and heartbreak. She says that there shouldn't be any weighing if you have reached the second day of the bouts, which is in the Olympics. So, but she's saying that there should be allowance at least of a bit for women because women can't lose so much weight.
Vinayakk, what do you think of this?
I think Shashank had a very interesting take, our colleague, on this whole issue. I tend to agree with Vinesh in the sense that the second day weighing probably doesn't make sense, but the whole integrity of wrestling as a sport depends on two athletes of similar weights taking on each other. So if there is a chance that one wrestler might come back the next day, because Vinesh naturally her natural weight is higher, it might not be fair on the other wrestler if their natural weight is lower and they have the night to put on some more muscle mass, right? I mean, look, whatever mass they add overnight. So I think to protect the integrity of the sport itself, the weigh-in is probably needed. But I agree. I mean, the part that bugged me the most, even during Paris, was if she did go through the first day of bouts with the right weight, those results should stand. I mean, I still can't understand why the whole null and void thing is happening. I mean, if she disqualify from the final, right? That bit I never got. And I don't know if they argued that strongly enough for kya hua. But yeah, the whole disqualifying from the entire competition bit, that is definitely not something that's palatable, right? I mean, it makes no logical sense to me still.
Yeah, I think when she joined politics, like everyone was a little skeptical because now you have led a protest, and even while they were protesting, there was talk from politicians, especially BJP politicians, and even Bhushan Sharan Singh, the former WFI president, who was accused of sexual harassment, that this is a political conspiracy. But her take is very simple, that when she was in the protest, she realized that how powerful politicians were. Like she says that why is Brij Bhushan still surviving? Surviving in the sense that his son has got a ticket. He didn't get a ticket, his son got the ticket. He is still around, he's still powerful. Of course, the case is happening in court, but still, I think she realized that how powerful politicians are. They were dragged through the streets when they tried to march to the new parliament building. They reached out to all politicians. They even reached out to BJP politicians to listen to them. I think that is what struck her, that you need power. So she also says that, see, now, if someone like me, Bajrang or Sakshi have power with us, then she feels that if something goes wrong with young athletes, if something bad happens to them, women athletes, they will be in a position to do something to help them. If Vinesh is a MLA, or if Vinesh, say, for example, the general talk is that she could be the sports minister. If she is that, then she has some sort of power. We can't deny that politicians are powerful. They have so much of perks. They have so much of following. And if a politician speaks up, of course, it carries a lot of weight. And somebody like Vinesh talking with this background of the protest. So she feels that if something goes wrong, and if people know that she's a MLA, she's with the Congress government, which is in power in Haryana, if the Congress wins, and then, she's a minister, they will call her and tell her, and she can do something about it. Like he spoke about how people were telling her to start a NGO, but she just felt that you need the power, you need political power.
Did she say any reason why Congress?
Yeah, that was very logical reason, I think, which if somebody in her position, she would choose the Congress, because she said in India there are only two big parties, Congress and BJP. And even in Haryana, it's the same thing, Congress and BJP. So who will I go with? I will go with the party which supported me when I needed support, right? She wouldn't go with BJP. So she went with Congress. And she said that this is what she claimed, that before the protest, actually didn't know any of these politicians other than Hello Hi, because she's a wrestler. And she got numbers of politicians only during the protest. And I think Huda has done a lot for sports in Haryana, the senior Huda and Deepinder Huda. So there's a lot of goodwill among sports people, irrespective of which party they are. And because there was a lot of prize money, doors were opened for sports people. So that goodwill is there. And also, they are very pro-sports people, the Hudas. And of course, during the protest, the whole Huda family was there. Congress was there. Of course, there were other parties also, like AAP, left parties, a lot of politicians. But that's what we asked her, why Congress? And she said it's very simple. See, she she didn't name the Congress leaders. She said, I've met the tallest Congress leaders and they treat you so well. I felt like I'm talking to my mummy and papa. They lent a ear to her. So she was comfortable, and she felt that, I should go with the party which supported me, and I have to go with a powerful party. There's no point going with a party which is going to win 1 seat in Haryana or 5 seats,
Yeah. But Vinayakk, the first immediate point that everyone who's followed this story made, that the moment Vinesh entered the whole political ring, I don't know, discredited might be a very strong word, but it kind of dilutes the protest in the sense that it now becomes, everything will be seen through a very BJP versus Congress prism. And the seriousness of the allegations means that, what Sakshi said, I don't know if Sakshi was just, she said that Vinesh joined the political party or if she really meant it, but Sakshi said that at least she'll now be carrying the flag of the protest because Bajrang too has joined Congress. Now, he hasn't got the ticket to fight the elections, but Vinay, do you feel that this kind of dilutes the protests in any way or takes away anything from the allegations that have been leveled against Brij Bhushan? Because he's come out strongly and started kind of tom-tomming about it.
It makes no sense, right? Though the argument against the wrestlers is now it makes it clear that the protests were politically motivated. I think the protests were in two parts. I think you guys would know better. The first time they started protesting, they tried to play down the political angle as much as they could. This is not political. We just want justice. I think by the second time around, they realized that it is political, right? And because the people they are dealing with are in politics, so there is no way that, the whole protest can be like simply cut out from politics. I think they realized that the second time around, and that has probably led to the whole Vinesh joining politics. So, it paved the way for her to come here. As Nihal said, it's because she thinks now if she wins and she has power, she could do something about it. So how does that dilute the protests that happened when, whatever was happening? It's kind of revisionism at its best, right? Of course, now that the political angle has come in, we have to give credit to them to take the step. Move away from wrestling and come to politics is a brave thing to do. So it doesn't take anything away from the protest as far as I'm concerned. It's kind of what led to the whole entering politics.
Yeah, like I said, see, her logic makes sense, I was also a little skeptical when she joined politics. But yeah, it makes sense because she feels that she needs power. She feels that even if somebody has won, like she just used it, just saying that even if you win 100 Olympic golds, the power a politician has, you are nothing in front of them. So that is what I think she realized, the harsh reality of where she was when she was at the protest site. She was constantly battling a force which was so powerful, basically the government. So that is what she realized. She must have felt helpless. So she wants to take things into her own hands, and her agenda for joining politics, according to her, is to ensure that she can do more, uplift women, ensure that sport is cleaned up, those kind of things. Let's see how it plays out.
Does she have any issues that are close to her heart? Like you mentioned, the upliftment of women athletes.
Like she just wanted to have power so she can help people who need help, Whether it's women wrestlers or others, she just wants to make sure that she's there to help people when they are in trouble. Especially, I think wrestlers, when there is something happening which shouldn't be happening, or sports people, she can take it up. And of course, she wants to do, but this is a priority for sure.
And where does all this leave the whole case against Bhushan Singh is an interesting point too, because of course it's now going to become like this whole he said, she said, a very typical political thing. The case is also being heard in one of the Delhi courts. Bhushan's different tactics to get his name out of the whole saga have failed so far. The courts have not allowed it. Sakshi Malik said she is going to lead the protest. She's going to continue fighting it. And Vinesh and Bajrang haven't said they won't be doing it. So you'd assume the three of them are still tight in that sense. But Nihal, where are we in terms of the whole Bhushan Singh sexual harassment allegation saga?
I think that will be fought in court, Mihir, because see, they have lawyers. The court process is happening. People are appearing and testifying. So, that will surely happen in court if the case is strong. According to the police charge sheet, it's up to the lawyers, it's up to those who have to go there and talk in front of the judges, So that is going to happen. Just because she's joined politics or she becomes a politician, that is not going to stop. That ball has been set rolling. So that is now up to the court. Let's see what the court says.
Right. And lastly, to wrap today's edition, Vinayakk, first you and then Nihal, do you see Vinesh making one last comeback into the wrestling mat?
What do you think first?
I think she has it in her, yeah. Regardless of what happens in these elections, I think she'll make one last attempt at the Asian Games, and then from there, I think she'll see if she still has it in her for the Los Angeles Olympics. But I've been saying this from the day one that I feel that she'll make one last comeback.
Yeah, so I was looking, Nihal will of course have the best view on this. Just by reading the interview, there is definitely a sense of unfinished business inside her, right? The feeling that she even mentions that she thought she would even compete in 2032 Brisbane. That I found interesting. So that's clearly she's been thinking that far ahead at some point. So of course, 8 years away, if she thinks she's going to be still competing at the Olympic level, then it means that she has a little bit left in her.
That would be a political statement, like how politicians make tall claims. It could be one of them.
Yeah. And I think, she probably mentioned this before as well. I think one of those, maybe when she came back from Paris. Anyway, but that's beside the point. So clearly she thinks she has some fuel left in her, but I think the fight is probably not there, right? It's fuel is not a problem, but the fight has probably gone out in terms of how much she has to overcome to, just qualify and then compete, and the things that she has to put up with. That sort of helplessness also came across in the answer that she gave when these guys asked whether she's thinking of a comeback. So honestly, I actually don't know if she's going to make a comeback. When she put out the statement, I thought this is a very reactionary statement and there is a comeback left in her. I think once things settle down, when the dust settles, she'll probably come back, is what I had thought when she put out the retirement statement. But the more I see, the more I feel like it's probably not going to happen.
Nihal?
Yeah, I'll just go by the answer what she gave us. She basically said that physically it's not an issue for her. She still feels she can compete in 2028 and even 2032, she said. That is, of course, before the vain heartbreak. But what she said is that, see, the body is willing, but what about the heart and the mind? Like Vinayakk said, at the moment, she's not in a mind space to think of wrestling or think of a comeback. She's saying that the mind and the heart have to be convinced, then only can I come. The body is fine. Body, I know I can do anything. I'm Vinesh Phogat. But the issue is in the head and in the heart. So that now it depends if that changes or not. And you never know, she's a politician. I mean, if she wins the elections, she becomes a minister. Will she have time? And then what turn life takes, you never know.
That'll be interesting to see. I mean, what happens there. The Haryana elections are on October 5th. The results will be out on October 8th. So we'll see if Vinesh Phogat, the World Championship medalist, the Asian Games champion, the Asian champion, will now be an MLA. Thanks for listening to this week's episode. Thanks Nihal for joining. Thanks Vinayakk. Despite the fever, you made it. And we missed you last week. I forgot to say that at the top of the episode. We'll be back with a new episode of Game Time next week. See you then.
You were listening to Express Sports by the Indian Express. This week's show was edited and mixed by Suresh Pawar and produced by me, Shashank Bhargava. If you like the show, then do subscribe to us wherever you get your podcasts. You can also recommend the show to someone you think will like it. Share it with a friend or someone in your family. It's the best way for people to get to know about us. You can also tweet us at Express Podcasts and write to us at podcasts@indianexpress.com.